it's a cool fight, obviously. You know, in the world of women's fighting, this is about as good as it's gonna get for a while. Very interesting, obviously. Two of the most, what up? Hello, friends. There's people popping up to say hello. I will take some questions in a bit. Let me just sort of think out loud for a little bit here. Um, Holly Holm is probably the most skilled women's fighter that we've seen. You know, you haven't seen the best from her when you just see KSW 41. I see a question. I actually may be contributing something for KSW 42 in Poland. We shall see. I'm excited. That's a great show. KSW is phenomenal. Um, so Holly Holmes, skill-wise, just pure skill-wise, and we haven't always seen her necessarily at her very, very best, but she's one of the more complex ones. When you spend your lifetime fighting the best boxers in the world, it makes you see fighting in a different way. And then to adapt her the way that they did, to bring her from, thank you, my friend, to bring her from, you know, boxing through kickboxing, and then of course she was the one to beat Ronda, and it made sense because the person to beat Ronda would be somebody, you know, how do you stop, what's the deal with Ronda? Well, first of all, she'll armbar you, so people be like, I better work on my armbar defense. It's like, no, you work on not getting taken down. How do you not get taken down? You work on, somebody asking about Holly's movement, you work on not getting grabbed, and work on not getting grabbed, you work on not getting touched. And that's what the great fighters do. Sidebar here, we're talking about Cyborg versus Holly Holm. People have been talking about Mayweather fighting MMA. People, oh man, how's his jiu-jitsu? You don't need to do jiu-jitsu if nobody can grab you. And the game of learning to stay away from somebody and not get touched, that works in KSW. You can be better KSW. I fucking love KSW. It's like one of the great shows in the world. It's learning to move away from somebody, learning to not be touched, learning to like stay away from them and find yourself in balance enough to hurt them. That's a skill that is of incredible value in all martial arts, in any type of combat. And that's what Holly is, one of the things that Holly's very good at. And obviously, if you were training Holly and I said, you know, you have to fight Cyborg, what are you going to do? You're going to train to not be in exchanges and not be, have your targets available to Cyborg for long periods of time. My friend Leo calls it exposure, you know? How long is your exposure to danger? And in Holly's case, it's not, she keeps that exposure to damage and danger very low. Hello from Christmas, by the way. There's no bad guy in this fight. Both women are very likable people. That's true. That's true. And how you care about the people that you watch matters to you and me. It affects us. So this is a great fight. It really is a great fight. Now I'm gonna think all over the place, as I often do, but that's the way I like to examine things. It's also why I don't, you know, people are like, who you got? Well, if you decide 6 weeks out who you have, you will shape your views, your thinking, and your opinions all around trying to support that. So it's a very dangerous way to try to examine things from the point of view of that. And sometimes I do it for my job. People, you know, I know that in certain situations when I work with another guy, that if I have an opinion that is against his, that'll be great. So I'll mind it. But anyways, that's part of the job. But so in this one, you try to keep an open mind. 2 years ago, I would have said, does Cyborg do the berserker strategy? Nobody should do the berserker strategy anymore, which isn't so much a strategy, but I know what you're getting at. No one should really do that anymore. It's too dice rolly. It's too random. There's a chance of getting smashed every time. Is there a way to actually quantify a level of fighting so we can ask if women's fighting level is at the highest level? Okay, so I'm going to stop taking questions for a second, but women's fighting, where it's at compared to men's, that's going to be something we'll explore in a second. And now I'm going to touch on what I was just saying, or getting at. 2 years ago, I'd have said Holly wins this fight. Now, I would have told you not to bet on it, and I would have told you that although March 3rd KSW live commentary, no, I may not be doing, I might be contributing a bit of commentary. I may be doing other things. Poland, March 3rd. We're working on it. No guarantees yet. But I do love KSW. I want to be a part of it. So 2 years ago, I'd have said Holly had some massive advantages. When you just look at skill, just look at it. Smoking big, yeah, I see. Good for you, man. just skill. Like Holly would 2 years ago, we would say she would fight very smart, touch her, move, fatigue her, be smart, make her chase, intercept her for chasing, and pick her apart. And you would have looked at the way that the things that make Cyborg great, that ability to generate force, that leaning into her shots, developing power, everything, using the power of your body and your hips to generate all of this force, that would have been, to do that, old school do that, you need connection to the ground, okay? And the old school way that Cyborg was fighting back 2 years ago and 3 years ago, that heavy connection to the ground, it would have been a bad way to approach a fight with Holly. And I would have been leaning heavily towards Holly Holm. I would have kept an open mind and explored it from other directions and tried to find where I was wrong, and been happy to be incorrect about that. But that's what I would have felt. But you look at take a second point on that, what I would have thought a couple of years ago, is Cyborg has never fought anybody of the elite level. Like, who's the best fighter she's ever fought? Marlos Kunin, great fighter. But she's never fought anybody all that evolved, all that high level, all that, fully formed in their ability to fight, on the feet in particular. Never really fought anybody. So a couple of years back, I would be saying, you'd be looking at all these as reasons to be thinking that Cyborg would get people later, exposed is what they would say if that were to happen. That's not the case. People just are at the points of development they're at, and how it's put together in the moment, and where it happens is, and the year it happens, and their stages of development, and where they're on that night. That's what happens. The difference is, in the last 2 years, you get to watch. Now, you don't get to see that much of Cyborg fighting, but you get to watch her training if you look for it. And you see a lot lighter on the feet, able to move a lot better. Jason Perillo is a really, really smart coach. I always like the chances I get to talk to him. I haven't been able to, I saw him in Winnipeg, and I saw him in Detroit, and I saw him in New York, and Cyborg is just too strong. Strength is nothing. Strength is pointless. Strength is no good if I'm off balance this way and you're hitting me from over here. Strength is irrelevant. Martial arts were designed to beat the stronger opponent 100% of the time if you were way better. That's what martial arts are. It is, you are stronger and they are more skilled, they'll win. That doesn't work 100% of the way that way, but that is what the design was. That is how and why martial arts were formed. Strength is one of the lowest, you're welcome. Strength is low down on the totem pole of importance. Now, when that strength can be applied in balance, used to create force, used to create impact while in balance, especially if somebody else is out of balance or out of position or has looking in the other direction, now you got something, and Cyborg has that. But so what I'm saying is, when we looked at her a few years back, we would be trying to compare strength and power versus skill and finesse, and in a lot of those cases, especially over 5 rounds, if you don't take out skill and finesse in round 1, it wins. But now that's different. Now there's all kinds of things. So here's the flaw of fight. A flaw, there are many, of fight analysis, or analysis of any kind. True analysis doesn't have a resolution. True analysis is ever changing, and we're adding to our layers of knowledge of it over time. And as we add new information, things we believed or change. The problem with internet and television analysis is that we feel the need to make a pick or tell the audience how it's going to go. I don't believe the audience needs that. I think my work, where I go against that, is proof every day, although I get pushback. Oh, bro, why don't you make a pick? But I think over time, we're proving that these beliefs that old school producers have are untrue. And in fact, if everybody is making TV in such a way that you must pick something, you must resolve something, we need sound bites from you, Kenny, and you, Michael, or whoever, and that's how we're told often in television, that shapes this completely unrealistic thing. And then even people who have internet shows where they should have, and they do have the freedom to say, we don't need to resolve this. This is a still learning process. They still do it because that's what they've watched other people do. But so here's the flaw is Cyborg is much, much, much better than the video that we're watching of her. Way better. She's learned more in the last 2 years of fighting than in her whole life combined. Cyborg has learned more in her last 2 years of being a combat athlete and martial artist than in the rest of her life combined. And all we'll see is her fighting somebody way better than her. So we don't, and once she realizes, oh, you know, this woman is not on my level and she's hurt and she's fighting scared, now she's not fighting, you know, with finesse and subtlety and strategy. She's just trying to get the woman out of there. So we're basically what I'm telling you is we haven't seen what Cyborg really is against a high-level fighter. She's never fought one of this level, and she's never been forced to use some of the skills and abilities that she has and uses in the gym. So where I lean towards, if anybody's going to beat Cyborg, it will be Holly Holm. That you can bank on. Now, well, if Holm were to lose, 2 years from now, somebody else pops up, or Cyborg gets caught in the temple. You know, these are statements that are malleable, right? But Holly is the one to beat Cris Cyborg, and the reason is because the way that she moves in and out, the way that she minimizes the length of time that she's available to be hit. That's the big key. That she minimizes the length of time she's available to be touched, and so then you chase her. Now, somebody asked about women's fighting versus men's. Touch on that in a second. But I saw Cyborg in interviews and heard people saying, you know, we haven't dealt with somebody who runs as much as this. I like the thinking. Use that. Try to make it a negative. Try to make the audience try to prevent it. If you can get the audience to boo, sometimes you can get fighters to deviate from their plan. Run sounds like a negative, but the ability to move away from somebody, make them miss and make them get over aggressive, and then hit them with a, you know, when they're off balance and their chin is available, that's an incredible skill. That is at the root of martial arts, as martial artistry. And that's a fantastic ability. That's where everything is changing in fighting. You know, however, even having said that, we're talking again about 2 years old Cyborg, not the one that I think has evolved a lot right here, is we look at Ponzinibbio versus Mike Perry. And Mike Perry is Cyborg in this scenario. Powerful and aggressive and generates a lot of force, really ornery, you know, offense-based, all of those. Mike Perry is Cyborg. And Ponzinibbio is Holly Holm. He's a little more complex. He moves on different angles. He's harder to hit. He moves in and out. He throws off your line, like all of the same kinds of ideas. Takes people out with like surgical, creates a moment like Holly does, where sometimes when she gets a KO, it's because she created a moment to KO you. And Ponzinibbio's done exactly the same thing. I was fucking shocked by how well Mike did. Like shocked. When you, in theory, bunch of MMA coaches hanging around, high-level coaches hanging around, just hanging out together, talking about Mike Perry versus Ponzinibbio. I won't tell you who. All of them are like, this guy's gonna get fucked up. Cause they're looking, top-level coaches, top minds, every day in the gym with the best people. They were looking at Mike Perry, Ponzinibbio, and thinking Mike Perry was just gonna get surgically, you know, taken apart. And it wasn't like that. Because there are more hotel hangouts and cab rides, please. Yes, this year for sure, I promise. Those coaches and the people all sitting around, and I'm like, I don't know, man, there's something about Mike Perry. There's intangibles, and you watch any sport on TV, you watch football, you watch baseball, you watch anything. They'll be like, oh, what about the intangibles? What are those? Those are the things, what we call intangibles, oh, guts and heart and mind, all those things. They're not nebulous, magical concepts. They're real things that we just haven't examined in the detailed way yet. Because heart and guts, there are brain chemicals happening when that happens. There are changes in your body that take place when those things happen. Those things, you know, fearlessness or the ability to push through pain, those are real things. Those aren't just ideas we talk about and we romanticize. Those are real. We just don't examine them the same way in fighting and in sport as we do in the lab. So those things were at play. So again, we've got a lot of capitals. Most of the people who are like Cyborg gonna murder Holly Holm, all caps. Not sure why. A lot of yelling when you believe that. There is a brute force element that is seen in Cyborg, and anyone who's trained martial arts know that brute force can become very, very, very minimized when you're more skilled than the person. But anyway, so Mike Perry has those attributes, those qualities. You know, he was able to. Should upcoming fighters train? I'm sorry, I'm missing these. There's many, which I'm very thankful for, but there's so many. Receding hairline much? Yes, receding hairline. 48 years old. Like, you guys, people who are like that are so fucking dumb. If anybody insults you, just agree, because it's not an insult, you dumb fucks. It's like factual. I'm a 48-year-old man who, over time, this will happen to you. Dummies. Cyborg is a very scary fighter. This will be an interesting fight. Now, scary is a really good idea. Scary to whom? I'm frightened of her. So are you. But it's very important that anyone... Yes, I do read some of the comments. It's very hard, though. They come fucking flying by, which is really cool. I'm so glad that you guys care enough to be... You're 36 and you have less hair. Well, see, it's just factual. If you're going to be all right, we're all going to change. Yeah, I thought I was way younger, too. We're all going to change. All y'all are going to get older. There's certain things that are within your control. You can work out, and you can eat good. Those are two main ones. I'm going to sneeze. Please excuse me. Well, just keep your train of thought. I'll try. Good advice, actually. Good advice. It's fun, to be honest. So now I've meandered off my train of thought. It's fun. This is mine. I get to hang out here. I don't have any bosses. I don't have any rules. I do have real jobs. I work for TSN. If you go to tsn.ca/UFC, there's structure that I should do to do my job well. I'm discussing doing some work for KSW in March. I do some analysis. That is because I love it. For ACB. That, again, I do it my way. I do all kinds of other jobs, and in those there are structures. You should wear a certain thing, you should talk a certain way, you should have a certain length of time, you should do all those kinds of things. But this is mine. I'm thankful you guys hang out here, and I know that some people will fuck off because it's all over the place, but I don't have to change anything. And I highly recommend you guys create your own thing where you don't have to listen to anybody either. It's so liberating. Anyways, I will wrap this up shortly. Cyborg versus Holly. Oh yeah, check out my new wedding ring. My wife got me this for Christmas. We've been married 6 years. And this is the voice of her singing Under Pressure when she was in the Queen musical, and it's on a blue ring. So it's like that's the sound wave of it. Because that was the first... Anyways, when I first saw her sing that song, I knew she was awesome. So somebody asked about women's martial arts. Here is a couple of truths. Women in banking, women in mixed martial arts, women in government, it doesn't matter. There have been different times where the women's expression of the job or whatever, basketball, it doesn't matter, comes behind the men's. Some of those is oppressive. It's just the way our cultures are. It's asshole shit. And others is financial. Until people will pay a lot of money to watch women fight in a cage, there won't be the resources to train them at the highest level. They won't have the best training partners. They won't have time from the best coaches. You bet your ass on Cyborg. It's up to you, man. It's your ass. Because of that, women's sport is behind somewhat. When you saw Ronda Rousey come out, she was like Royce Gracie. You know, nobody understood her game. It was just advanced on a high level, and then they had to learn it. And, you know, Joanna Jędrzejczyk is Chuck Liddell. You know, sprawl and brawl, knock people out. Like, you see the same things start to evolve. But it's doing it far, far, far faster because the coaching available, the knowledge available is there. And it's fresh, and a lot of resources are there. So It's accelerating. You're able to watch 10 years of evolution in a year or two, which is really cool. And we're almost there now. I mean, skill-wise, some individuals, Holly Holm, you know, I was a bantamweight fighter, low level professional mixed martial artist. I won a belt in a very small organization in a region in Canada. Holly Holm kicked the shit out of me. Like, if I went to train with her, I wouldn't understand what's happening. I probably wouldn't be able to touch her much at all. Perillo's plan on the countdown, they want to pressure. I don't like that. I mean, I'm not here to undermine Perillo. I also don't believe the plans. So I don't believe the plans for the most part. Usually the plans are lies. Why on earth would you reveal the plan on television? What you would reveal is either the opposite of the plan or something you want the other person to think the plan is. Chad Laprise fought in Winnipeg. Chad is a God-fearing Christian man. And he told me, yeah, it's going to be all about the striking. Then after, because, yeah, the plan was always to take this guy down. I'm sorry I lied. Because, like, it's like, dude, you don't have to apologize. It's like the most honest Christian fighter to his friend will lie because that's what you do. So never believe the plan that you see on TV. Always think, what would, if you had all the information, and you don't, and I don't, what might make sense? And then then think, what would I want them to think? What would be valuable for me to make them think? And the thing, no, it's coffee time, man. The thing that would be valuable to make your opponent think is what you tell them the plan is. So when Jason Perillo says the plan is to pressure Holly, it's probably the opposite of the plan. I believe if I was facing, thank you, greetings to Chile, BC. If I was facing Stephen Thompson and I would want him to think I was going to be aggressive and I was going to pressure. And then, yes, these Joe Rogan mugs are big. And then I would, JRE sponsorship, sell out, question mark. You wouldn't be selling out if Joe gave you money. Joe was not in the business of giving people money, but he did give me this nice mug. And I like it. I have 2 of them. I got one each time I was on his show. And I kept them. And I drink out of them. But yeah, you lie. You lie. Of course you lie. And you don't even think of it as lying. You think of it as part of the strategy. Using the information, the public information, to trick people. Now, they don't care about tricking the audience. The only reason to trick the audience is to make them buy tickets in some way. You know, for monetary reasons. You don't need the audience to not. You just want the opponent to think something else. So thanks for hanging with me. Let's actually just focus on these questions. I realize I'm train of thoughting, which is what I like to do, and it's fun. But also not doing a good enough job of doing either of the things. So, hi, Robin. Sorry I'm bugging you. I'm your fan. I want a shout out. Well, there you go. Shout out. Do you know Eddie Bra and Mr. Hogan? I don't know about Mr. Hogan, but I do know Eddie Bra. Eddie Bravo's a genius. Can Cyborg cut off the ring effectively? Okay, I won't take any more questions now until we that one. Cutting off the ring is not a binary thing. Most of the things we discuss in fighting are not binary things. They can either be done or not done. I either get a takedown or I do not get a takedown. One of those things may be true, but there's lots of other stuff going on. So people like oh, failed takedown attempt. Well, what did I gain with that? What did I gain? I may have fatigued you. I may have put an idea in your mind about what I may do in the future. I might have hurt you. I could have done damage. There's a lot of things I may have achieved. Same thing, cutting off the cage. I don't either do it or not do it. I will do it a bit, or I'll cut it off in such a way that I'm somewhat in balance, or I'll be able to corner you a little, or I'll only do it for moments. And these answers I'm giving you right now are the likely scenarios of what can be accomplished. I won't be able to corner Holly Holm for any for too much length of time. When I do, I better do damage, probably to the body. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Binary thinking is always primitive. You said always. Always is always primitive. Somewhat. Even that, when I said it there, it's not always. But always and never was pointed out to me in the last year or two. Gun to your head, if you had to choose, I didn't see the rest. Is when I say always and never, that those are very limiting ideas too. Even when you get in a fight with your friend, you're like, you always say that. He doesn't always say that. He may often say it, or occasionally, and then you say, does Holm get that head off against Cyborg? So, another point. So, we'll talk about head movement. Head movement is to move my head. You know what else is good? Torso movement. You know what else is good? Just moving over here. All of those things. If I'm just counting on making her miss by slipping my head off the line, I'm eventually going to get caught. I have to use all of those things. And it's all of them together. We compartmentalize things, and the way that we've been taught to do it, because it's the way that people do it on television, and then when people have podcasts and stuff, they imitate what they heard on television, is we compartmentalize everything. Producers tell us to do it. It makes it simpler. Do your balls hang lower than the... No, they don't. The producers tell you to do it that way. Talk about the head movement. Talk about the takedown defense. None of that shit's real. You know? Nobody trains head movement. You may train to be aware of where something is and start moving your body, but the movement of the head or the torso or the feet is all connected. Every now and again, that last thing, the punch comes and I'll slip it, but all of it's connected. And even a slip will involve my hip and, you know. So, do you feel that the fight favors Holly going into the championship rounds? I would think so. I would think, you know, when you've got somebody who's fought 10, you the best, the next Joe Rogan. I love Joe. I think he's the fucking best man, one of the best humans I've met. But I don't want to be the next Joe. Although, whenever anyone says shit like that, I take it as a massive compliment. I just want to be the first me, you know? I don't even need to be, like, rich and successful like Joe. I just need to talk about fighting every day. And maybe I won't be as rich if I don't want to, although Joe never really wanted to be rich. So much to learn from people like that, man. You study, have you ever been invited to a podcast? I was on Joe's twice, but invited to lots of podcasts. Mental strength is very important for fighters and athletes in general. All of us. Mental strength is important for all of us. Big supporter from Turkey. Starting your first boxing class. Wicked. I didn't see the rest, man, but enjoy it. Who, us, Rogan? I know Joe Hogan. Could you kick Joe's ass? No. He's and severely lacks knowledge in stand-up. Rogan is a douche. Rogan is not a douche. Rogan's a wicked dude. No, I couldn't kick Joe's ass. He is bigger, stronger, faster. What is mental strength really? Great question. I'm not going to answer any more questions. We'll get to that one in a second. Joe's better at most martial arts than me. I might have a little tighter boxing because I've spent so much time on it in my adult last few years. But he would kill me. And if it was, let's say I could land a couple of jabs on him, then he would just try to rip me to the ground and then he would strangle me in seconds. He's far better at martial arts than me. But I love martial arts. What is mental strength really? That's a really... Let me meander out of here after a little bit of thinking on this. So, mental strength, what is it really? Everything that you do, everything that you learn, the way that you do most everything in your life, even the physical things you do. I did this. This is all my brain. My brain is doing this. My hand, my arm, the neurons, all of that are expressions of an idea that my brain has. Your brain is fucking everything. It's all you. And you can train that stuff. And people, soldiers and fucking lawyers who deal with stress and fighters and people train their ability to train their ability. Do you know what I mean? They train to become better all the time, to be a little bit smarter, to challenge themselves. Every single time that you do jiu-jitsu, and I'm just picking jiu-jitsu at random, could be anything, and you're exhausted. When you're young, you may like tap out or say, okay, I'm done, I need a break. Every time that feels like the thing to do, and you don't do it, you are building resilience. You're building the ability to keep doing that. And if you do it a little more, everybody isn't Matt Brown or whoever. Matt Brown wasn't fucking born Matt Brown. You train that. And so you can run for 10 minutes and then you're exhausted and you have to quit. When you can run for 11 and you push it to 11 and a half, one day it's 20, one day it's 40. Some of that is your lungs and your body's, your red blood cells' ability to take oxygenated hemoglobin to different parts of your body, and you build that shit too, but you build up a strength and an ability. You always have good inside analysis, and sometimes Ramdean is homeless. No, Ramdean owns his own home, and he's actually doing very well. But you train that shit. You train that shit. You train to be calmer. You train to work harder. You train to learn more. You train it. That's what mental strength is. And nobody's born with it. Habib doesn't have more mental strength than I do just because he was born with it. He has it because he's trained it his whole life. Habib Nurmagomedov, or whoever we pick at random, who is of the high mental strength, as a kid, they forced them all to wrestle, and he would wrestle harder and longer than the rest of them. Not just because he could physically, but because he could mentally. Then he would be pushed to the point that he wanted to quit, and every time he didn't quit, it made him able to go a little further next time. When you can do something even though you're tired, when you can not give up on something, when you can, it's all learned behavior, and it's all trained behavior. I asked Matt Brown about being mentally strong, and he goes, I don't sit around and say, I'm mentally really strong. He said, I train it. He puts himself in situations where a weaker him would quit, and then he doesn't quit. And then he amps that up all the way through until the fight. Mental toughness can be useful without you being good in the first place. I mean, to be technical. Think Holm is terrified? No, I do not. Mental strength is the ability to sacrifice your will to quit. It's many things, right? Who is the strongest mental game in the lightweight division? In the lightweight division. Tony Ferguson's got a pretty fucking rugged brain and mentality. Darren Till fight. Any good opponents come to mind? Darren Till, I want to see him fight better guys right now. Like now, I need to see him fight better guys. And I do want to see him fight Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson's just... I just happened upon this scrolling your subs randomly. Well, that's wicked. I'm glad you're here. Stephen Thompson... I want to see fight Darren Till, but Stephen Thompson's like, you're too young and you're not good enough yet. I don't blame him. Do you recognize the best boxing in the UFC? And it's so hard to compartmentalize now. It really is. I don't think there is such a thing as boxing, or kickboxing, or jiu-jitsu. I don't think they're real things. I think they're constructs. I know that sounds fucked up, but I mean, if we call something jiu-jitsu and we look at it, and then we look at it in 2004, it's not even the same thing. It's just made up. Fighting is fighting is fighting is fighting. The principles are all the same. If I'm in a position to hurt you and you're not in a position to hurt me, it's better. You know, if I'm in balance and you're off balance, it's better. If you're throwing offense at me, but you're not being defensively sound, and I can be defensive and offensive, it's better. All of these things are all truths about fighting that are truths whether you call it boxing or kickboxing. I've seen guys throw the same things and call it Muay Thai, and other guys throw the same things and call it kickboxing, and other guys throw the same things and call it boxing. What is it? It's fucking fighting. It's fighting. It's combat. It's martial artistry. Mental toughness is the first step to homelessness. I don't know, man. I don't know where you're coming from there. Awesome sweater. Thanks. A lot of Darth Vaders. It's Christmas. If you've hung out with me here for 40 minutes, I really fucking appreciate it. It's really wild. You're one of the few analysts that don't play the I'm picking this guy game, so refreshing. Thanks. You like that analysis. Thanks. Thank you. You will see others do it because it's right. I'm correct on this. It doesn't make sense. It's a construct for television. Unarmed combat individuality is key. Agree. Robin, future commentator. Is that your goal? It was my goal. I did. Tony knows he isn't favored by the UFC. You got to not give a shit about that stuff. You got to control what you can control. So somebody asked me if I'm going to be a UFC commentator. Probably. But it's not my life or death goal anymore because I can't control it. And as I work figure out the system of where I am and what I'm doing, I've commentated 450 shows. Go back and listen to TKO 41. It's better. It's more interesting, it's different, and it's modern compared to 90% of the shit that isn't Joe. Joe's the best. And the other guys are good too. But they're doing what fucking producers tell them they gotta do because it's what you've always done. Go back and listen to mine. It's just better. It is. It's more modern. Now, If that's all that mattered, I'd already be doing it. But it's not. There are human beings up that chain that somewhere in there have many, thank you, have many other goals. Hey, that guy's my guy, therefore I'll have more, he'll be more loyal to me. Or, oh, I can't do that because I already said he wouldn't be good. And the better I get every time, there's one or more people up that chain who have said to Dana, oh, I don't think he's the right guy right now. Those guys have to stick by that plan. Otherwise, they have to admit that they were wrong a year ago or 2 years ago. And most people don't want to do that. So I don't have control over what people do. I can't make one or two people between me and that job believe that this is the right move for them. I can't make them think that. So I'll go and I'll end up contributing to KSW, ACB, and many others, TKO. I'll work for TSN. I'll do my job all over the world. Would I love to commentate fucking Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson? You bet your fucking ass I would. Would I love to sit next to John Anik, who's my friend, and like go over the fights with him the night before and love the process for the weeks leading up to the fight? Maybe with like Cormier or Cruz or whoever when Joe's not doing the shows? Fucking rights I would. Fucking rights. And would I be good at it? Would I make the audience learn more? And some of them would be mad. This guy fucking sucks, but that's good. Like engagement, remarkability, that's good. I would make that. That would happen. They would all get engaged. I'm never listening to this shit again. This guy sucks. That would be good because a year later, they would learn more. They'd be resistant, and other people would be like, holy shit, we're learning all kinds of new things. This isn't being done the same old boring way that we've started to slowly tune out many fights. Fucking rights I would. But can I make somebody, one or two humans in between, who are choosing to believe or maybe don't believe but have already kind of been... Who do you think has better chances against Woodley, Covington, or RDA? P.S. Merry Christmas from Germany. Merry Christmas to Germany. That's tough, man. I'll miss those next couple questions. Covington or RDA? So let's look, so skills, just straight up. Nothing else matters except for skills. These are Dungeons and Dragons characters or characters in a video game, and they have the attributes that they have, and that's it. Just, wrestling, boxing, the old school way, the way that people tend to do it, and the way you're told to do it on television, and the way people do it in their podcasts because they saw other people do it on television because they were told to do it. Let's do it that way. RDA can, in theory, strike with Woodley, and will be great on top of Woodley, but there's no way in hell he's ever getting on top of Woodley. There's no way in hell that RDA is getting southpaw, boom, on top. Kick, bam. It's all, the getting to you is the thing. That's why McGregor wanted to fight him so bad, and he got injured, and who came in? Who came into that? I forget. That fight got canceled anyways when RDA got injured. RDA had the belt at the time. Then Eddie took the belt, and then McGregor wanted to fight him so bad because he knew he couldn't get to him. And Woodley, from having the Maya and the Thompson fights, now he's hard to get to. So RDA has a hard time getting to him, not getting him down, ends up being, and then Woodley finds a way to win that fight, kind of boring, picking him apart from the outside, and then everyone boos Woodley and hates him more, which is good for Woodley. If you hate him, that's better than if you're indifferent to him. Covington, on the other hand, my dog is whining, I don't know why. Covington, from the other hand, can close the distance and can get a hold of him and might get on top of him. That would be bad for Woodley, who's never really on his back, right? So, who has a better chance? RDA beats Woodley 9 times out of 10. I disagree. I think RDA beats Woodley 3 to 6 times out of 10. And I'm leaning closer to 3. I really am. You just like RDA better. Did you watch KSW yesterday? I have it recorded. 2 Dons from Adelaide. Boom. Yeah. 3 times or 4 times or 5 times or 6 times out of 10. I don't think I would be. Woodley's a terrible matchup for RDA. He just is. Woodley's a terrible matchup for anybody now. Just because you don't like him doesn't mean he's not hard to fight. He's not going to get into exchanges with you. He learned that. But Woodley's not going to get into exchanges with you. RDA needs you to be in exchanges with him. Lawler is going to get into exchanges with you. He's going to cruise in, and you're going to fight. Woodley, you're going to come in and try to do that, and he's going to be all out here now. He could do that. And by the time you fought Stephen Thompson twice, you know how to not get into exchanges with people anymore. So RD is not going to get into any exchanges with him, and that sucks. And he's not going to get him down. So, do you think Colby's skill set can back up his smack talk? Yeah, I don't know if his mind can. It's you elevate the pressure so much. I saw a Korean Superboy thing there, but it went zipping by. You elevate your own pressure so much. I don't think Covington realizes how hard this is going to be on his life. You may find it funny for a while when Brazilians say they're going to kill you and stuff, but he's going to carry that around. Alvarez looking good. He could beat up Khabib. I'd like to see that fight. I'd love to see that fight. Hard to take Eddie down. I'd fucking love to see that fight. No amount of skill can equate to that mouth. Yeah. Well, he's making money, I think, off it, which is good. You touched on it already, but I really want to see you on the broadcast team for the UFC. Feel free to tweet Zach Candido and Craig Borsari and Dana White on Twitter or Instagram or wherever. It'll probably happen. I had a conversation with one of the executives in Detroit, and I was like, dude, you know I'm gonna fucking kill that desk. You know I'm gonna bring something different to it. And they're like, well, you know, there's a lot of fighters trying, a lot of fit fighters, a lot of audience. I'm like, look, you know why any fighter can do that job? Because the expectations are so fucking low. That's what I said to him. And I was saying it as politely as I could. I'm like, the expectations are low. Any fucking guy on Twitter can sit there in a suit and go, well, you know, if Khabib gets this to the ground and he gets on top and he dominates you positionally, gets a hand free, it's going to do a lot of damage. You know, but if Edson Barbosa can just keep it on the feet, use those leg kicks, and really rough up, slow down Khabib with those leg kicks, I think Edson can do it. Any fucking idiot can say that. Of course all the fighters want to be on that desk, because if that's all you got to do, anyone can do it. Newsflash, Robin. Most people think I missed that. Why do you think the UFC is so... I missed that too. You've been on Joe's podcast yet? Twice. Been on Joe's podcast twice. Robin and Cormier call fights. Just because someone has fought doesn't mean they will be a good commentator. It's a skill. But that, yes, I agree with you. But the expectation is so low now that they can all do what's being expected. Worst matchup for Khabib is maybe Kevin Lee. Yeah, that's a tough one. But guys, I gotta get going. I've been here for 45 minutes, and we started talking about... my apologies. If you're still here and you're like, when are you getting back to like Cyborg versus Holly Holm? We'll get back to it now. It's gonna be a killer fight. You know what to expect. You don't need an analyst. You don't gotta listen to a 2-hour podcast about it. Holly's going to move her feet, try to get Cyborg to come at her. Cyborg wants to cut off the cage. It's not easy to do. She won't be able to do it for long lengths of time, so when she gets short moments of doing it, she has to do lots of damage, maybe shots to the body. She can try to kick the legs, but against a southpaw, it's a whole different game. Holly's straight left hand, the head kick, and my thing is moving slowly. And Holly might look to take her down. Don't be surprised. So let's end it with that. Do not be surprised to see Holly, when Cyborg gets aggressive, Holly work into the body lock and then work into the back and then trip her to the ground. Don't be surprised, particularly by mid-round 2, expect to see a lot of that. I think you'll see Holly Holm playing some grappling for sure. It'll add to her whole game. If Cyborg being aggressive, Holly results in putting her down, Cyborg has to be less aggressive. And if she's less aggressive, plays into Holly's game. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really do. It's really, really super fun. I gotta go wrap some presents for my wife and her parents and see what my dog is whining about. But I'm gonna come back. What other fights are on this card? There's some other killer fights on this card, and you should watch and speak about kickboxing more, Robin. Okay, I will in the new year. What other great fights on this card? Because we're gonna come back with Khabib versus Barbosa. Yes. On the 27th. We're going to do that on the 27th. We'll do it just like this right here, and we'll do it live. Hooker Diakisi is good. Diakisi, is UFC commentator really the best job for you? Maybe not, but it's something I definitely want to do at least for a bit. If it ends up I don't love it, then I can do something else. Merry Christmas, Serbia, and everybody else. I hope you guys have like a killer Christmas, and I will definitely see you on the 27th, 28th at the most. We will talk about Condit versus Magny as well, and my dog's over there. Love you guys, really. Thank you for a great year, also, by the way. Last year, this time, there was no YouTube channel. And now 23,000 of you fuckers follow me, and it's really kind. And you give me such support and enthusiasm. February 1st, I'm in London, Ontario with my live show, Robin Black Live, London, Ontario. Show the dog. He's hidden. I'll get him next time. He's awesome. Go on my Instagram. Lots of stuff about my dog. It's Robin Black MMA on Instagram. Much love. Black out.